So I was coming from Nashville. I had actually just finished a meeting. The meeting went well, and I was headed back to Atlanta. And I got a call from my sister that said that Dad had pretty much stopped breathing. The paramedics were at the home at my mom's house, and they were reviving him, and he wasn't responding at that time. When I got the news that he wasn't responding, man, I was afraid, of course. One of the weirdest feelings I've ever felt. And I started singing How Great Is Our God. I never forget it. The truck was just totally silent. And we were just riding, and I was just singing and crying and just singing How Great Is Our God. That was just the first song that came to my spirit. When my sister called back to give me the update, she just said, he's gone. Dad passed away. I told my guys, man, let me out. And so they pulled over to the side of the interstate, and I just started walking, man. I remember praying on the side of the interstate, saying, God, I thank you for welcoming my dad into heaven. We honor you, God, even right now in a place where we don't understand what's going on. Finally, got myself together, got some peace about the matter, and did what I feel like I knew I had to do. I just started getting on the business, started thinking about, what type of program he wanted. My dad was a part of KJO, and, I was working on his record at the time. We had never actually did a release, so, I was like, man, why don't we do, a homegoing service, but a album release party for him, and let's just give away his music. And so that's what we did. And so for a week straight, we just worked to get the details, get a poster there, get all the flowers and everything that we think he would want at a release party. We're there to just make sure Mom is okay, make sure everything flows smooth. So I'm really right now, I'm the only boy, and I got all the financial responsibilities, which, my sisters, they could have helped, but I didn't want them to help. I felt like it would be honorable to take care of my dad and just to make sure everything would be straight. I want this type of song, I want this, I want that. And those details just kept me from mourning, kept me from crying. It just kept me on business mode. After the event was over, after, that was done, and then I stayed with Mom a week, make sure we could take care of her, it was back to business as usual. Back to getting to ministry, back to the road, back to KJO, back to being a husband, back to being a father, back to being a producer, back to being a singer, back to being a minister, And I ministered, man, and I started getting back to things, but I wasn't the same because I just felt like I had this big hole in my back, man, that I never really came to closure. I remember going back like a year and a half later to the grave site. I wouldn't go. I was afraid to go, and I went back, and I just cried, man. I was just like, man, I'm gonna swallow this and kind of put it to rest. I mourned slow because I had to pour out, and I was about God's business every week, but I was dying inside. And so you're trying to be strong for everybody, but man, and that's how I start gaining weight and start, just living unhealthy, and things start happening in my physical body because spiritually I was just incomplete. At that point, you are trying to do the best you can do. Nobody knows that, you'll go to a show, ministry engagement, and 25 kids come to know Jesus, 25 people come to know Jesus, and then you go back to your hotel and cry your eyes out because nobody's feeling your pain. You're there to help everybody else with their pain. I just worked and cried for the next 3 years. I hate telling this story right now, because I've never told a story without crying. I'm surprised I made it this far. He was the best man I've ever met. He was a man that was about his business. He was a pastor. He was a singer. He was a dad. He came to every basketball game. He was there for every football game. He was there for every engagement, and not only for me, but for all my siblings. I was thinking, man, was I supposed to be there? Did I not follow the signs? Was I so much about my business that I didn't pay attention to be there at that time? And there was so many things that were running through my mind that I was like, man, I'm just trying to get this grief off of me. Some 2 years later from the day he died, I closed the casket in my head and cried just like he had just passed away. And it was tough getting through that. And so I was like, all right, you gone. All right, I got it. I got it from here. I'll take care of Mom. I'll take care of the business, and I'll be responsible. I'm gonna always miss him, but I had to get it out of my system of, okay, it's okay to move on. I had this ministry engagement, and I remember it was local, it was in Atlanta, and I pulled up to that place, and I felt like almost like all my breath came back, and I started feeling my arms and started feeling my face. Almost like you were in a bad dream and you woke up, and I was like, man, I'm back. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm back. And that is where the song "Fill Me Up Again" came from. It came from not necessarily that I was in sin or that I was doing something wrong. I was doing the work of the ministry, but I was just empty, and I don't care how great your vehicle is, you can only drive so far on one tank of gas. Sometimes, you feel like you're a spiritual Superman, that you have so much advice for everybody else, but you just need rest and refill, and so I needed that refill. I needed that refreshing. I needed that refill. When the song starts explaining, that lately I've been too busy, but I really miss you, friend. It's like I miss the person that I'm doing this for. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing this for Jesus, and I miss Jesus. I'm having all these people to meet you, but I miss my quiet time, man, because my quiet time is filled with ideas on how to get people to meet you. And I haven't had just straight communion of just, God, I just want to lay before you, and I don't want to think about nothing but just be in your presence. There are a lot of artists, there are a lot of pastors, there are a lot of people in ministry that are hurting and they are aching, but they got to be strong for their people. And some people don't want to show weaknesses, but I think this song will just let people say it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, this time as the pastor, I'm going to be the first person down at the altar doing praise and worship, or I'm going to be the one that's worshiping today, because I need y'all to pray for me because I'm just tired. You just need a refill. Sometimes you just need somebody to call you and say, man, don't want nothing, man. I just thought about you, man. I'm praying for you. And those friends that called me during that time, God inspired them to call me, man, because I needed to hear from them. I needed to hear from real brothers, real sisters to say, you know what, man, we ain't calling for nothing. God just put you in our spirit. We're just praying for you. I hope this song is a blessing to people that sometimes you go through tragic situations and you just got to keep working. The song is called "Fill Me Up," and right now, I just want you to enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this story. It was really to just help somebody to say, look, I don't care how high you are. It doesn't matter how notable you are, how strong you look in public. Sometimes you just need a refill. So we ask God, and I agree with you, that God will give us both a refill. Whenever that time comes, man, that we can humble ourselves and just say, God, fill me up again.